On a quiet morning in 2023, a peaceful town in British Columbia, Canada, was rocked by shocking news. The wail of police sirens shattered the tranquility, heading straight for an expansive mansion. This was no ordinary residence. Its towering columns and meticulously landscaped garden spoke of extraordinary wealth and status. But when the police pushed open the heavy oak doors, they were met with a horrifying sight. In the marble-floored main hall lay the lifeless body of a young man, Noah Crane, 22 years old, the sole heir to a family business empire. His expression was frozen in pain, and blood pooled around him. Nearby, and his stepmother Lisa disappeared. Outside, neighbors and reporters gathered beyond the barricades, murmuring their speculations about what could have transpired. All of this seemed to starkly contrast with the cold, composed image of Alex Crane, the master of the house. A titan in the business world, his life had always been perceived as a symbol of success and control. Yet behind the veneer of perfection, his family was quietly descending into chaos beyond repair. Want to uncover the truth behind this tragic family story? Subscribe to our channel and join us as we delve into the fatal cracks in what appeared to be a flawless life. Alex Crane once had a family that others envied. His first wife, Emily, was gentle and supportive, standing by him steadfastly as he built the foundation of his career. During those years, no matter how busy Alex was with work, he always made time for his family, spending peaceful and happy moments with Emily and their son Noah. However, Emily's sudden death in a car accident shattered their lives. The loss of his beloved wife left Alex devastated, but he eventually chose to bury his emotions and focus entirely on his work. Within a few years, he grew his company into an industry leader, earning him a reputation that shifted from charismatic to ruthless. Yet his professional success could not fill the void in his personal life. As he distanced himself from his family, Noah, who had lost his mother at a young age, became increasingly withdrawn and rebellious. The relationship between Noah and his father grew colder with time. During his teenage years, Noah tried various ways to gain his father's attention, but Alex's responses were always detached and curt. After each argument, Noah would retreat to his room like a caged animal, venting his frustration and sadness on his canvases. His artistic talent began to emerge, but it never received any recognition from his father. 5 years ago, Alex met Lisa at a business event, a woman nearly 20 years his junior. Lisa came from a modest background, and her striking looks and graceful demeanor made her the center of attention at social gatherings. Yet behind her radiant smile lay a longing for a stable life. Having experienced a series of failed relationships, Lisa was uncertain about her future. Alex's maturity and stability attracted her, while her vitality and warmth offered Alex the prospect of a fresh start. After their marriage, Lisa moved into the Crane family mansion. However, the luxurious home did not bring her happiness. Noah treated his stepmother with coldness, even hostility, while Alex was often preoccupied with work and paid little attention to household affairs. Lisa felt like an ornament displayed in an opulent showcase, beautiful but purposeless. Her sense of loneliness grew, making her question whether she had made the right choice. In this household, Alex strove to piece together a new life. Noah sought to rebel against his fate, and Lisa became lost amidst the conflict between the two men. Though they lived under the same roof, they were each trapped in isolation, setting the stage for the tragedy that was about to unfold. Noah Crane's childhood was once filled with light and hope, but his mother Emily's death changed everything. From that moment, his world turned gray. As a teenager, he was sensitive and lonely, trying to channel his emotions through painting, yet he never received the attention he longed for from his father. During high school, his grades started to slip, and his behavior became increasingly rebellious. To outsiders, he remained the well-dressed rich kid with the fancy car, but inside his heart was filled with emptiness and anger. When Lisa entered the Crane household, Noah harbored immense hostility toward her. To him, this young and beautiful woman was nothing more than an intruder who sought to replace his mother. He expressed his dissatisfaction with biting sarcasm and deliberate distance, but Lisa's every smile and patient response left him confused. She tried to connect with him, attempting to play the role of a good stepmother, but Noah interpreted this as provocation. Over time, Noah's feelings toward Lisa began to shift. He started to notice her every move, the way she absent-mindedly twirled her hair, the way her profile looked when she was engrossed in a book, or even the melodies she softly hummed while in the kitchen. At first, this attention stemmed from mere curiosity, but it soon morphed into an uncontrollable obsession. Noah became secretive and obsessive. He secretly collected items Lisa had used, snuck into her room late at night to rummage through her belongings, read her diary, and even took covert photos of her without her knowledge. This infatuation exhilarated him, but it also caused him pain. Deep down he understood that these feelings were wrong, but he couldn't escape the grip of this relentless longing. It was during this time that Jason, Noah's friend, entered the picture. Jason was Noah's peer, but his broken family and troubled past had shaped him into someone deeply cynical. The two bonded over their shared rebellious streaks. When Noah confided in Jason about his feelings for Lisa, Jason's response was provocative and inflammatory. "You have the keys to the house and she's your father's wife, isn't she? If it were me, I'd have made my move already," he sneered. Under Jason's influence, Noah's obsession began to fester, turning into a toxic desire for possession and jealousy toward his father. One late-night gathering, the two, slightly drunk, began plotting a reckless scheme. In the dimly lit garage, they whispered their ideas, and Noah's canvas became cluttered with chaotic sketches reflecting his disordered thoughts. The plan's details were vague but dangerous, to make Lisa his alone, while utterly destroying everything his father had built. This conversation marked a turning point in Noah's life. A dark seed had been sown deep within his heart, waiting to take root and grow. It would not only destroy this family, but ultimately consume Noah himself. It was a cold winter night, snowflakes silently blanketing the streets with a thin layer of white. Lisa was alone in the living room, organizing books. Alex was away on a business trip, and Noah had claimed he was attending a friend's gathering. She lit an aromatherapy candle, relaxed on the couch, and flipped through a psychology book. Little did she know, danger was creeping closer. Shortly after, Lisa heard the front door open. Noah and his friend Jason appeared, carrying a bottle of red wine with casual expressions. Noah explained with a smile, "I just remembered we have better wine at home, so I brought Jason back for a drink." Lisa hesitated, but seeing their polite demeanor, thought nothing of it. She smiled and took the glass they handed her, raising it for a toast with them. Unbeknownst to Lisa, the liquid in the glass hid a sinister secret. Earlier, Noah had added a sedative to the wine, a fast-acting drug that would make Lisa's consciousness fade gradually, but not immediately. Timing was crucial for their plan to succeed, and Noah felt both excited and nervous as the moment unfolded. Lisa drank the wine, initially noticing nothing unusual. She continued chatting with them, but soon her head felt heavy and her vision blurred. She tried to steady herself by placing a hand on her forehead, but dizziness overtook her. Realizing something was wrong, she struggled to stand, only to find her legs weak, eventually collapsing back onto the couch. Noah watched the scene unfold, a glimmer of excitement flashing in his eyes. He instructed Jason to lock the door and dim the lights in the room. Lisa, her voice trembling, tried to demand an explanation, but Noah coldly cut her off. "Don't worry, this is just a little game of ours." Once Lisa was nearly incapacitated, Noah and Jason began executing their plan. They rummaged through her belongings, taking personal items, snapping photos, and even sending provocative messages from her phone to create chaos in her life. Lisa's helplessness and pain were evident in her dazed eyes. She tried to speak, but her hoarse voice barely made a sound. Noah stood nearby, his gaze complex as he looked at Lisa. He seemed to revel in the thrill of being in control, yet there was an indefinable emotion beneath the surface. He reached out to touch Lisa's cheek and whispered, "You are mine, and only I can control you." His words cut into Lisa's heart, like an icy blade, filling her with unprecedented fear and humiliation. Jason, indifferent and even slightly amused, patted Noah on the shoulder, reminding him it was time to wrap up. In the following time, the two took turns to have sex with Lisa, which lasted for a long time. After completing their plan, they left Lisa slumped on the couch and walked away without a second glance. As the door closed behind them, only the dim glow of the candle and Lisa's labored breathing remained in the room. This crime shattered Lisa's life entirely. Her world crumbled while Noah basked in the thrill of controlling everything, oblivious to the consequences looming on the horizon. In that moment, the Crane household was no longer a home, but a chasm engulfed by darkness. Late at night, the Crane household was engulfed in a chilling silence. Lisa sat alone in her bedroom, gripping a bottle of colorless, odorless liquid, a deadly poison. After months of torment and threats, she could endure no more. This hellish life had taught her one thing. Only by fighting back could she end it. In recent months, Noah's control over Lisa had grown increasingly ruthless. Exploiting her vulnerability and fear, he crushed her dignity and hope with every act of domination. Lisa had tried to seek help, calling the police and reaching out to others, but Noah's influence and his complete control over her life rendered her efforts futile. One day, standing in front of the mirror, staring at her haggard reflection, she asked herself for the first time, "Why not put an end to all of this?" Lisa devised a meticulous plan. She knew Noah had a nightly habit of drinking alone in his study, a time when his guard was down. She poured the poison into the whiskey bottle he often drank from and quietly waited. On that day, as Noah sat in his study as usual, Lisa calmly brought him a glass of whiskey. Without a hint of suspicion, Noah accepted the glass, glanced at her briefly, and drained it in one gulp. Minutes later, the poison began to take effect. Noah felt a sudden, violent dizziness. He tried to stand but found his limbs weak. His initial look of shock turned to anger as he tried to question Lisa, but his throat could only emit hoarse, guttural sounds. Lisa watched him calmly, as if she had rehearsed this moment countless times. To ensure there were no loose ends, Lisa used a rope she had prepared in advance to tightly bind Noah's hands and feet. His struggles under the poison's effects seemed feeble and almost absurd. She took out a sharp knife, her gaze burning with a mix of indescribable pain and fury. "Isn't this how you felt when you destroyed my life?" Lisa said in a low voice. Her eyes glistened with tears, but her tone was as cold as the winter wind. Finally, with trembling hands, she raised the knife and ended Noah's life. This act was not just punishment for Noah, but her final cry of defiance against the fear that had imprisoned her. The gruesome Crane family case quickly caught the attention of local law enforcement. When investigators arrived at the scene, Noah's body was already cold and Lisa was nowhere to be found. Clues at the scene were strikingly clear. A bottle of poison and a blood-stained dagger were placed on the desk, as if deliberately left as evidence. The police concluded that this was a meticulously planned murder. Lisa's days on the run did not last long. She was apprehended in a cheap motel, showing an unusual calmness. She even voluntarily confessed to the crime. In the police interrogation room, she recounted, with remarkable composure, the long-standing torment inflicted by Noah, and how she finally decided to end her living nightmare that fateful night. Her confession brought the case to public attention quickly, and her statement, "This was my only way out," became the headline across media outlets. When the case entered the trial phase, it garnered widespread public attention. The prosecutor painted a chilling picture of how Lisa used poison, ropes, and a dagger to meticulously plan and execute the murder, emphasizing that she had other options to seek help rather than resorting to violence. The defense lawyer, however, detailed the abuse Lisa endured at the hands of Noah, arguing that her actions stemmed from prolonged desperation rather than malice, and pleading with the court to understand the context of her extreme measures. During the trial, public opinion was deeply divided both inside and outside the courtroom. Some believed Lisa's actions constituted premeditated and inexcusable murder, and that the law should not be swayed by her motives. Others sympathized with her plight, asserting that she was a victim of societal neglect and domestic abuse, and that her retaliation was an act of justice born out of necessity. As the media delved deeper into the story, the case sparked broader debates: the hidden nature of domestic violence, the inadequacies of social support for victims, and the challenge of balancing morality and law. A tragedy that began within the confines of a family ultimately transformed into a public trial of ethics and legality, becoming one of the most contentious cases the town had witnessed in recent years. Lisa was ultimately sentenced to 15 years in prison for manslaughter, while Noah's friend Jason received a 10-year sentence for conspiracy and aiding in the crime. The verdict sparked renewed public debate. Some argued the punishment was too lenient and failed to hold anyone truly accountable for Noah's death. Others sympathized with Lisa, believing she should never have been pushed to such an extreme. After the trial, Alex stood alone in the now empty mansion, haunted by memories of the past. He once believed that wealth and career success could compensate for his losses, but the silence of the house told a different story. He had lost not just 2 family members, but his entire sense of family. Why had Noah turned into the person he became? Should Alex have noticed Lisa's despair sooner? Could this tragedy have been prevented with a little more understanding and care? The audience cannot help but wonder, if faced with a similar desperate situation, are there truly no other solutions? When family tensions run high, are there better ways to communicate or intervene? This story reminds us that violence is never the answer, but neglect and estrangement within a family can also lead to irreversible tragedies. Perhaps the greatest takeaway from this case is how to prevent such tragedies from happening again.